I'm Eric Barnes with the Daily Memphian, and welcome to the Sidebar, a weekly show on the community, arts, culture, and more. Today we're talking to WYXR's JB Boyd and Liv Cohen about the upcoming Raised by Sound Fest, so stay with us for a conversation with JB and Liv. And a special thanks to our sponsor, Youth Villages. JB, Liv, thanks for being here.
Thanks, Eric.
Hey, thanks for having me.
I see you all the time, so it's kind of weird, but it's great, and thank you both for being back. We'll talk a bunch about Raised by Sound, but I mean, one is that I say we because I'm a board member at WYXR and I've been had the show, I guess, since one way or another, since the beginning. 4-year anniversary. That's pretty huge.
4 years, man.
Talk about that for you, because you played the first song that was ever played on WYXR.
I guess I never thought about it like that.
I remember being in there in the studio.
I felt like Robbie
cool.
and I were both dedicating the song. But yes, I physically pressed play. Yeah. So I'll take that on. Thank you.
Yeah. I don't know. I was just thinking about it. It was Susie, right?
Yes, Susie by Frederick Knight. Yep.
I don't know why I was thinking about that. I guess because the anniversary just happened.
And I think Robbie put it in a post during the pledge drive last week. So it's a callback. You know, for those of us who work at the station, I think we all every once in a while pay some tribute to Susie. When Liv came on full time, I gifted her the 45.
Oh wow, that's very cool. That's very cool. And you've been with 2 years, give or 2+ years.
Yes. I was here for the second birthday as an intern and then came on full time May of 2023.
Yeah.
And here I am.
And I say with the noise in the background, we're still in Crosstown on the 10th floor, to the utter frustration of Natalie Van Gundy, producer, but that's fine. I love it. And that's really all that matters, is that I'm happy. Yeah, apparently. No, we are actually starting to work on our new studio soon for all the Daily Memphian podcasts. We'll circle back maybe to the anniversary, but Raised by Sound Fest is coming up December 7th from 1 p.m. to 11. No, I said that wrong. Yeah, no, I said that right. At Crosstown. Thank you, Liv. It is, well, I guess I'll start with you, Liv. Because I'm looking at my left. What is Raised by Sound Fest?
It's a celebration of WYXR and Memphis music. It's also our biggest fundraiser of the year. So we have free live music in the central atrium of Crosstown Concourse, 1 to 6:30-ish. The lineup this year is pretty stacked. And then a ticketed fundraising show in the Crosstown Theater. This year it's John Coxon and Jay Spaceman of Spiritualized performing music for William Eggleston's Strainin and Canton. And then the after party.
So that part, whose idea was that? Or how did that come about? And what is Stranded in Canton for people who don't know?
Well, you know, when we put these together, it's always sort of a piecemeal of inspiration of, you know, who's around, who's coming through town, who might come through town, who can maybe we persuade to come through town at hopefully a discount, as we're a nonprofit that, you know, this is a fundraiser for us, not a lost leader. So I think that there was some roundabout conversation that Robbie picked up on that John Coxon, Jay Spaceman had a new record coming out and that they were probably not going to perform too many places. So we threw out a feeler. Yeah.
Well, it's actually really funny. David Spider, host of New Soft Shoe Show on WYXR, one week was like, you guys got to get spiritualized. 1 week later, they're reaching out to Winston Eggleston, Robbie's co-host, sung on the radio, asking for his blessing. Yeah. And then it all just kind of fell into place for us.
The son of William Eggleston, the photographer. The movie Stranded in Canton is, I think I've seen the whole thing. It is the kind of movie you watch and you're like, did I just have an acid flashback or did I watch that movie? Like, It's so weird and cool and interesting. So I think I watched, it's black and white. It's one of the few movies he did. He's obviously is known as a photographer.
It's almost like brown and white. It's
right.
It's not even really, it's colorized in a strange way. Yeah.
And are they going to be, describe for people what's going to happen? So the movie it's a documentary of sorts.
It's a fever dream.
It's a fever dream documentary,
Yeah.
They'll be playing music over it and just the visuals of the movie will be playing.
Right, absolutely. And I think that the edit that we'll be playing has some special significance too, as it's supposed to be a true to form in some way that even we'll be surprised of of the cut that we see of it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's Robert Gordon's copy, who he helped, I guess, remaster the film however many years ago.
So that is a whole lot of Memphis coming together.
Super.
Robert Gordon, I mean, he still has a show on WYXR,
Absolutely.
writer, friend of this show. He's been on a few times. So, okay, I didn't realize that part about Robert Gordon. That's great. That's great.
I think he's the one that kind of tidied the film up so that it could be shown to people.
Yeah.
Yeah, rather than just being a sort of a thing that people whispered about.
Yeah. I may have seen it because I am and was at the time worked with Eggleston's nephew, and I think he had a copy.
Yeah.
I think that might be how I saw it.
Yeah.
You know, he's like, oh, you can borrow this or something. So I had like a VCR, I had like a VHS tape of it. All that will be in the big theater, right? Crosstown Theater.
Yes.
And then you, like you said, Liv, shows in Central Atrium and out front, and
Just in the Central Atrium this year.
Okay.
We're keeping it tight-knit.
we will not be recording a podcast at that time.
No.
So it will not interrupt our podcasting, so thank you. Again, that's December 7th, 1 to 11. Then for the ticketed part, which is the spiritualized and the William Eggleston movie part, people can buy tickets on WYXR?
Those are sold out.
Sold out, okay.
But we still have tickets for the after party.
For the after party.
Yes.
Okay, so let's segue to that. What is going on with the after party?
Well, Robbie sort of threw the idea out there. You know, usually we've had some hip hop presence in the free music, and this year that didn't quite come together. So he thought, you know, it'd be cool. Hip hop is so essential to Memphis right now, particularly the way that Memphis music has a presence globally. Hip hop is a big part of that story. If I stepped up and found some way to really showcase that. And so I started talking to some of the 90s artists that have sort of had a resurgence from the cassette tape scene of Memphis back in the day. And a few of them I had sort of been working on some projects with right now. And Tommy Wright came to mind, and he hadn't played in town in a while, so he was enthusiastic to do it. And then Lil Noid came to mind as well, and he was enthusiastic to do it. And you know, we've had DJs in the past for the after party, and so how do we even arrive at? Oh well, I kind of reached out through some friends, and definitely. Integral part of the station, friend of the station, Greg Cartwright, the Big G.
Yeah, who was on the show, was great a month ago now, something like that, 3-4 weeks ago. People can go back and listen to it. It was a great, super interesting interview. Not for anything I did, just to interrupt you, but I love interviewing musicians when they kind of talk about the craft and the realities and the profession. And it was really interesting to have him talk about his career, what he does now, how it's evolved. All that was super interesting. But anyway.
Yeah, I'd reached out to Greg because Greg had he had written some songs on the latest Black Keys record, and he had DJ'd a bit with them. And also Sean Brock had the chef. He's based in Nashville. He had DJ'd a bit with them as well. And then I did a gig with Sean Brock. And so I thought it'd be cool if we reach out to the Black Keys and see if there's some way we could work together at some point in the future, some way, somehow, either between here or Nashville. Yeah. And when the word got back to them that we were interested in doing something with them, I think that Greg just offered up, hey, they're doing a big thing in December, and that just sort of fell into place too. And
that's amazing.
Yeah, they were excited to come. And Lil Noid is on their new record as well, so it's sort of a reunion for them. And they're definitely big fans of Tommy Wright and the 90s hip-hop in Memphis, so it all works out.
It's pretty amazing.
The Black Keys also, they have a William Eggleston photo on one of their albums. It's weird how it all kind of
really funny.
Connects.
Yeah.
It's like a big conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
You know, you could draw the lines between all of it with some like cut out like cassette tape covers and photos. So the after party, is that sold out too?
No, we have several tickets left. That'll be in the Crosstown Arts East Atrium. There'll be food and bev and a ton of art experiences. It should be the party of the year.
Is it? Oh, so over in the red stairs?
Yes.
Not the secret.
By the galleries
Not
in
the
Crosstown.
secret atrium
yes.
that no one knows about. By the galleries. Okay.
Yes.
Very cool. Again, people can get those tickets at
raisedbysoundfest.com.
okay. Or a link to it from WYXR.org,
Yes.
both of them. Okay.
All the places.
We'll talk more about the event, talk more about what's going on with WYXR. Let me stop and do a little housekeeping. Joined today by JB Boyd, Program Manager for WYXR, and Liv Cohen, who's Membership and Community Engagement Coordinator, which kind of, sort of, barely encompasses all that you do, but do it really well. And I say that as a fan of WYXR and as a board member. But a reminder that I'm Eric Barnes, and this is the Sidebar. It airs on WYXR 91.7 every Thursday at 11:30, focused on the community, arts, culture, everything in between. It's not just a radio show, though. It's one of many weekly podcasts we do at the Daily Memphian, including Bill Dree's Politics podcast, On the Record, the Memphis Grizzlies podcast, hosted by Drew Hill and Chris Harrington, which obviously kind of firing up right now with the season about to start. And there's our food podcast, Sound Bites, hosted by Jennifer Chandler, Holly Whitfield doing it right now. And am I hosting? Am I co-hosting next week? I'm looking at Natalie Van Gundy. I'm appearing.
Soon.
I am. I'm going to have Chris on. I'm going to have Chris Harrington. That doesn't air next week, but I am having Chris Harrington on. I'm hosting Sound Bites in the coming weeks, so watch for that. It'll be good to talk to Chris and catch up with him on food and maybe a little Grizzlies, but mostly food. And he's been writing movie stuff for us lately, all that kind of stuff. Sound Bites airs on WYXR every Thursday at 11, right before the Sidebar. I should also mention we at the Daily Memphian host the podcast version of Behind the Headlines, the TV show we produce with the folks at WKNO every week. And all of our podcasts are on the Daily Memphian site, as well as iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. You can also get the WYXR shows, that interview I just did with Greg Cartwright, Sound Bites, the shows that Liv and JB do and other people do. All that's at WYXR.org, or you can get the WYXR app, and that has archives of all the shows, the talk shows, and the music shows. If you haven't become a supporter of WYXR, do consider supporting. You can become a member and get all kinds of benefits. You can do a one-off donation. It's nonprofit, listener-supported radio. So go to the app, go to the website, and you can learn more about supporting WYXR, which just had its 4th anniversary, as I said, and just had a big fundraiser, pledge week. So, but it's not too late. We take money all year round. And last but not least, the Daily Memphian is also a nonprofit. It's the largest newsroom in the region. And if you haven't become a paid subscriber, do consider becoming one. You can also donate to the Daily Memphian and support the work we do there. Coming up soon on the Sidebar, we've got David Yancey. He's an artist, tattoo artist, kind of interesting guy I have not met. I'm looking forward to meeting him. He'll be on in a couple weeks. Also, Andrea Brown from Folk All Y'all, the music. How would you describe? I'm going to look at you. How do you describe Folk All Y'all? She brings in artists, local artists mostly, but not exclusively.
Yeah, I mean it's a music series.
It's a music series. There we go. I put
Live
JB.
music series.
So she's, I think, also they're also celebrating an anniversary, I think. So talk to her. We recently had Laura Chilton, a writer, a novelist, on. It was a really interesting conversation about writing, about her book, and as I mentioned, Greg Cartwright was on a couple weeks ago. On Behind the Headlines this week, we've got some leaders of various charter schools talking about all kinds of things education related. We also have Doug McGowan, the head of MLGW, coming up in a couple of weeks, 2 weeks, I think 2 weeks coming on. And recently had Marie Fagans, the head of Memphis Shelby County Schools, and Paul Young, mayor of Memphis. Last but not least, this week, our Developing Memphis event. It is at the Botanic Garden at 3:30 on October 24th. If you're listening to this after it's happened, you'll be able to eventually get video of it at the Daily Memphian. We've got Chance Carlisle, we've got Ernest Strickland from the Black Business Chamber, and Stephen Townsend from Urban Arch. I'm saying that wrong. He is an architect working on the next phases of work at the airport. So again, that's our Developing Memphis event on October 24th, or you can get the video of it if you're listening to this after October 24th at the Botanic Garden, 3:30. That is a lot of housekeeping. I'll go back to the 4-year thing with you, Jared. I guess you started officially some months before launch.
Yeah, it would have been May 2020, May 1st, 2020.
So right in COVID.
Right,
which is so
COVID.
Crazy that launched in COVID. How has the station changed over time?
Well, you mentioned, I mean, it was scary to launch during COVID. It also was an opportune time. I think a lot of people needed something positive, something to believe in this community that is so driven by arts so driven and connected by the community that is built around arts. Here's a new vertical that you could interact with at home, on the road, with your phone, on the web, but it was fresh and it was emerging. I think it was nerve-wracking for me. Everything that happened in the studio, I'd have to think about how does it impact someone like Pastor Ship, who at that time would have been probably 80, 81, along those lines. Having a revolving door of people in and out. And there were enough people that were remote that you could kind of air the studio out, wipe things down during an hour where someone, might have sent in a pre-recorded program, that sort of thing. But those were sort of the big things that kept me up at night at the very beginning. But the growth and the change, lives a testament to that we have full-time staff that are thinking creatively about how we engage with donorship, thinking creatively. There was a point in time where, just between Robbie and me, it was a little bit of a conversation about, okay, how do we do a pledge drive? How do we build a donor base? Is it too soon? When should we do it? And, Robbie was the one that was like, hey, now is the time, when we finally did. But the increase of staff, the increase of our volunteers on air and off. And now that we are, I'd hope, a mainstay for a lot of people in this community, reaching out beyond our personal networks to find the parts of the community that wouldn't ideally walk into the Crosstown Concourse, see the radio station and immediately know how they can interact with it beyond just listening. And so we're driven by that conquest of, how do we find a way to have something in this experience for everybody that we meet who truly cares about Memphis. And so that's what the growth of the station has looked like and what it will continue to look like. There
are more events. Events are exhausting. We're kind of Liv was joking before. It's just exhausting to do events. It is for us at Daily Memphian. But that has been a huge part, it seems to me, of the evolution of that. There are these, again, some of that wasn't possible at first because of COVID and post-COVID and just the kind of rebound off that. But there's stereo sessions, there's Raised by Sound. There are, I think I've done at least a couple of concerts in supporters' backyards that are, again, fundraising events, but very fun events. I'm sure I'm missing other things.
Other workshops and seminars. Like that meeting in the middle, which we sort of gear towards students and young artists, and also the Dowd Awards, which is an initiative that celebrates African-American history in Memphis, and several other things. The Pull-Up is just our open house that we hang out and invite people to see our space. So all of it is definitely, no pun intended, a concerted effort to just find these touch points with people who wouldn't necessarily maybe even listen to radio at all, but care about our community and care about music, care about arts. Right.
Because, I think that's been a big thing. And I think you live, again, I just say this as a board member, and, y'all are doing the work. I don't mean it to take any credit. The outreach is huge, and the engaging of members. And that's about fundraising, but it's also about people who really, a good friend of mine, Charlie, he just wants to do anything because he loves this station so much. So he donates money, but he just wants to be there when he can. He wants to engage with it as an entity beyond the music he listens to. And I think that's true of a lot of other people who are members or supporters or just engaged. Again, it's not enough to call them, it's fine if you're just a listener. There's nothing wrong with that, but there's this whole community around it. Fair? Is that
very
true?
Fair? Yeah.
Well, I think it's on us. The onus is on us to sort of creatively think about ways to do that. And, we say a lot that, there aren't any other stations doing that kind of work, but there are examples. I think about this past weekend, WDA had the Souls to the Polls. That was a huge blowout. Yeah. And so it just proves that there is even more that we could do. We haven't done anything related to voting, and such as a very prescient, very important election cycle. So there's even more that we could be doing to make those connections from music to community. And so I'm inspired by that work as well.
Yeah, there's a man climbing down the window outside of Crosstown as we're recording this, so we all got slightly distracted as he's cleaning the windows. He's up there on the 10th floor with a rope.
Well,
like, that's crazy.
It also reminds me that people give because we have to pay rent here, and our rent helps these windows get clean.
Nice, good segue.
So yeah, there's overhead.
That was good. That was a good segue. Again, we're here with Jared JB Boyd, the program manager for WYXR, and Liv Cohen, who's membership and community engagement
Coordinator.
Thank you. But neither of those titles really capture everything you all do. Talk about some shows. Well, let me talk about, actually, Liv, you have a show
I do.
On the radio every
Yes.
week. What are you focused on, and how did that come about? And
Well, it's called The Crooked Beat every Tuesday, 2 to 3 p.m. I started my show when I was an intern. JB jokingly, or in my head jokingly, said, I was doing some senior thesis on air special, and he looked at me and said, "You wanna be a DJ?" And I said, I laughed in his face. But here I am 2 years later, just celebrated its second birthday. It's really just kind of all the music I'm digging as of late. I try to throw in some Memphis music, new Memphis music here and there. It's a fun moment
we were
in my
talking
week.
before, though. Like, I did one early in the first year, I think. I was sort of a guest DJ with Robbie and Jared. It was terrifying.
Very.
And that was, I mean, I'd been doing Behind the Headlines for 11 years at that point. I'd hosted a gazillion events. I'd done mayor's debates and governor's debates. It was one of the most terrifying things. And I still don't totally know why, other than I think there was something very personal about it.
It is very personal, and it's also, you're speaking just into an abyss.
Yeah.
It's different when you're speaking to someone's face, but I mean, with radio, you have no idea who's listening, and that's intimidating, but I think that's the fun part of it too.
Yeah. And you're doing it live.
Yes.
Which is, I mean, like, even with Behind the Headlines, 99% of the time, actually always now, is live to tape. So you can mess up, but you always have that sort of safety net. You're kind of everywhere, Jared, on WYXR. So, I mean, like, what right now are you doing on the radio that is really, like, you want to highlight?
Well,
or is bringing you joy, or is super frustrating, or everything and all of it?
When I moved back to Memphis in 2018, not only did I start with the Daily Memphian, but I also started with Beale Street Caravan.
Oh, right.
So Beale Street Caravan has taken different shapes over the last several years through the pandemic and all that as well. Thomas Crivens is the executive director now. I started under Kevin Cubbins. Pat Mitchell-Worley is still with the program. And, the board has changed a bit. And so, that I think is I wouldn't necessarily say that's my focus, but that would be the other thing that I'm doing consistently on air. It just so happened that we also started a radio station. I also helped to start a radio station, and when we thought about programs that could establish some professionalism and all that, it was just easy to just ask. Hey, it was a win-win to increase the footprint of Beale Street Caravan on a new station that we were sure was going to be all these things that we were hoping that it was going to be. But also we're creating them in the same building. The Beale Street Caravan office was in the Crosstown Concourse at the time that we launched WYXR. It left for a minute. It's now back in Crosstown Concourse. So it's convenient for me if I need to do something for the caravan and just walk down the hall and then return to my actual job. So if people, I'm sensitive about not being on the air too much, so my show, Nervous Wreck Radio, on Tuesday nights, I think a lot of people may not realize, I'm gonna go ahead and say it on the record, that a lot of times I'm in there drinking. So if it seems like a party, it's because I am in there. So all of the things that Liv said about her show that happens during the daytime, about nerves and that sort of thing, I don't have, because I'm barely functioning. And so it doesn't matter if anyone's there with me. It doesn't matter if I'm by myself. I'm just in a whole different zone. So those are my two reasons to intentionally be on the air. Now, if I'm ever on air for another reason, it's because I'm helping out just to make sure that things flow.
Right. There's a crowd of people who've come into the atrium in some form or fashion that Natalie Van Gundy is going to go check out.
It sounds like the Mall of America downstairs.
It sounds like the Mall of America downstairs right now. It looks a little different, I think. I've not ever been to the Mall of America.
Eric, before we move on to the next topic,
yeah.
I also somehow completely forgot that Robbie and I are on the air every single morning.
I know. Yeah.
That's my side gig.
No, I asked you about your show, but talk about the morning show.
Yeah, The Drop. It's our morning show, 6 to 8 a.m. every weekday. It's all new music that's coming out that I spend maybe too much time curating. But we also have community partner features, including the Daily Memphian. Yes.
Yeah. Natalie Van Gundy.
We have the news on every morning, 7:30. We have, artist interviews. We have a DJ who highlights all the dogs she saw outside of the station window during her show. Event calendars. New Memphis music from Elizabeth K. Wine, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
But it's fun.
Yeah. It's 5 days a week.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
And we just expanded it to 2 hours.
That's a lot.
Yeah. I'm here at 5:45 every morning.
That's a lot. Aren't you? But Natalie's up at 5. You're 5 recording. So am I. I'm up at 5 every day. So, doing things.
It's not live.
Anyway, we're almost out of time. We can't really go in on that. So again, I've asked you both this before. We'll do it again because I always try to ask and then I forget. But the first concert you ever went to?
I was 10 years old and I saw Nat and Alex Wolf at Irving Plaza in New York. Do you know who they are?
No.
Do you know who the Naked Brothers Band is?
I do not. I'm looking. No.
They were a Nickelodeon band, and
oh, nice.
The 2000s.
Nickelodeon. That's really good. What was the first show you paid money to go see? Your own money kind of thing,
yeah,
or whatever.
Dr. Dog, I think.
Okay. Also in New York?
No, Oxford, Mississippi.
Oxford, Mississippi. That's good. What was yours?
It was Roger. Excuse me, not Roger. Roger had passed away. Zap without Roger at the Cancer Survivors Park.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How old were you?
I probably was about 10, 11, something
10,
like
11.
that.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
A lot of fun. Talk box. I love the talk box.
Yeah. That's all the time we have. Thanks very much again. Raised by Soundfest. The ticket event is sold out. It's on December 7th. But the free concert is open to everyone throughout the day. You can learn more about who's going to be there. Go to WYXR.org and you can learn all about that. And there are still a handful of tickets left. Is that right, Liv? I'm looking at you. For the after party with the Black Keys are DJing, Tommy Wright, Lil Noid. Did I miss? I think I left somebody out of the after party. No, I didn't. I got it all. Again, Liv Cohen and JB Boyd, thanks so much. That is all the time we have this week. If you missed any of the episodes, you can go to WYXR, the Daily Memphian, or wherever you get your podcasts and get the full episode. Thanks very much, and we'll see you next week.